Ladies and gentlemen, how are you today? And what a week it's been for you healers out there. For those of you not interested in healing, I think you will find, in fact, the instance that I'm going to show most of in the background very interesting, especially if you considered all the dungeons that I showed you to be very easy. This is what it's going to look like when you're in an actual pug. So enjoy and be entertained while we discuss the finer points of the healing changes in WoD of Draenor. I've done a couple of videos on it. The predictions, why are things happening, what is going on here? And after doing a couple of dungeons and giving some slight feedback, we discussed it a bit more at the web show. Of course, you guys have been getting in contact with me. And then Blizzard dropped a bombshell today to say that the whole active mana regen, you will recall, I said, this probably isn't going to happen. It seems like a red herring. It just seems rather mundane, pedestrian, and boring. And I don't think it's going to play out. And now it's been removed. Now it's been removed. It's gone. And Blizzard's tried to play it down like, oh, you guys took this. You guys took this too seriously just because it sounded like active mitigation. It wasn't that important, right? Come on. Yeah, Blizz. This is one of those PR type messages. So I'm going to use this video as an opportunity to give my feedback on the current state of healing on the alpha, for those of you who are interested in that. I went against my actual initial instincts that I talked about. I actually leveled some more healers today. I was saving four of the healers, in fact, for the Alliance period, because I wanted to play those races. I wanted a Draenei Shaman, I wanted a Night Elf Druid, I wanted all the classes that I haven't been able to play for a while on those races. But being the fact that people were requesting such information, I decided to crack on. I got the Monk leveled up, and I also got the Paladin leveled up as well, so we could try that out. And that was about the point where I said, I don't need to level anymore. Because let me tell you this, guys. If there's clues as to how healing is looking right now, they're not on the alpha. Healing on the alpha right now is a fucking joke. It's broken as all hell. It makes no goddamn sense. It's a total mess. So the alpha isn't really giving us big clues. Neither is Blizzard. And I kind of think, well, there's only one conclusion to draw from this. Blizzard doesn't know what the fuck to do with it. It's pretty much as simple as that. And that's okay, because it's early days. It's early days. The Blizzard's just like, we just don't know how to make this work right now. And the things we're throwing at it just don't seem to be coming back as we want them to do. So why is that? Why is that? Well, what I can tell you from the alpha, and what I can't discuss, let's talk about that. What I cannot discuss about the alpha is the strength of the healers, because the tuning hasn't occurred yet. It'd be like saying, oh, well, mage DPS sucks, Blizz, Plix fix. It's too early for that. What I can talk about is actually the gameplay style. How the spells have worked out, how the mechanics have worked out. And I think this is actually contributing majorly to how this active mana regeneration and trying to get healers into a nice place has actually become very, very difficult, because healers are triple dipping right now into a whole host of problems. What tends to happen sometimes, we've seen it in the past, is that Blizzard's trying to fix something that's like a generic-ish type problem with a specific core amount of people, or maybe even just one specific class. At the same time, they're trying to fix an overarching problem that's occurring with every class, every single type of gameplay, off changing a raid entirely, and that starts to double dip into the fixes, and then they end up not working out. Those fixes now no longer work and actually create more problems. So where are we triple dipping with the healers, and why is this causing an issue? Firstly, ability pruning. This is the overarching thing. This is affecting every single class in the game. So healers, before we even get started into trying to control their mana and all that, actually have a lot less spells. As you will notice as more and more WoD gameplay comes out, at least until I can get add-ons and stuff on there, is you will notice there are huge gaps between my spells on a lot of the classes in different places. That's kind of how many spells have been removed, guys. When you read it on paper, it might not seem that much, and it might seem, oh, well, that kind of makes sense, those two spells did mix together. When you actually start putting out your spells onto your spell bar to where your bindings already exist from Mists of Pandaria, you're going to notice big gaps. Like, holy shit, I didn't realize that so much had gone, and it has. So much has been taken away from a lot of classes. So initially, healers now have just less spells to deal with, yeah? They have way, way less spells, which is contributing to having less choice and less things to do. Then it dipped again, because what else happened? Blizzard wanted to get rid of instant cast spells across the board. That was something that affected casters, anybody who was a mana user, which of course includes healers, but it also included the mages and the warlocks. They don't want so many instant cast spells going on. So what we have now is not only do we have less spells, but near enough all of them are casted spells. This changes the way mana works. We're not firing off as many instant cast spells. We're not chunneling out 4 or 5 spells over the space of 6 or 7 seconds. Now we're only firing off 2 spells in that time period, and mana starts to be, you know, much more consistent, much more readily available, and it becomes a very weird situation. We'll talk about how that has affected gameplay in a moment. But for those of you interested, it's things like Eternal Flame. You'll see that in the background. Uplift from the monks. Light of Dawn are now casted. Prayer of Mending is now a casted spell. All of these spells taking somewhere between 2 to 3 seconds. Every single spell, essentially. Then it dipped again because they wanted people to care about mana. They wanted people to care about mana. This is the weirdest one because this is what stems all these core problems that Blizzard's really working hard to fix. They must have invested hundreds of hours now into trying to make people care about mana. There wasn't that much feedback, if any, from people playing Mists of Pandaria who were really asked about having a lot of mana and being able to use all their spells. In fact, a lot of them found it quite fun to feel very powerful as a healer. This is one of those stubborn issues that Blizzard's like, every expansion since Wrath of the Lich King is healers will care about mana in the next expansion. We know you want this. And the healers are going, okay. Do we want that? Do we care? I don't. I don't particularly care. I quite like, as my gear improves and I get better at the game, is that I can fire off more of my spells. That seems quite logical, actually, Blizz. But thank you anyway. We'll certainly care about mana again. And Blizzard keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. This time we've got it, guys. We're going to make you care about mana. The idea is to make people have enough mana, given the resources, to survive the fights. So then I have to ask the question, if you're tuning around making sure healers have enough mana to do the fights, what difference does it make if they have 10% mana left or 100%? Does it really matter if you're tuning it in such a way that they won't really go if things are done correctly? If people die, like other healers die, you might say, oh, well, you know, having more mana means you can cast off more spells to cover that person. Well, that's okay, but if 2 healers die, you're probably going to wipe anyway, because there's a reason you have that number of healers in the raid. If every raid from 10 man up to 30 man, potentially, was all carrying 1 healer, then I could see the problem. But that's not what happens. We bring extra healers for a reason. 1 person cannot cover an entire raid, so therefore that invalidates the argument regarding mana. If healers die, you're going to die anyway. That's just the way it is. So those are the triple dips. How has it worked out in gameplay? What's my feedback right now? Healers are very, very strange right now. The casting is my biggest problem, actually, the loss of instant casts. Because everything's now casted and everything takes about 2 to 3 seconds, let me give you a scenario, and any healer worth his salt here will understand why this is bad. Suppose you're casting your 2 or 3 second heal, which most of your heals are, so you're likely to be doing, and then under your feet, something quite deadly appears, or a silence cloud, as is featured in this dungeon. So you're now silenced, so now you've got to move. So let's say you're 2 seconds into that cast, you've now got to move, add another couple of seconds, and then you've got to start casting your heal. What we're talking about is 2 seconds of standing, 2 seconds of moving, and then 2 to 3 seconds of casting, potentially 7 seconds of no healing. No healing. In the case of my paladin, what I can do in that period of time is a holy shock. And that is it. A holy shock. And then I have to start casting a heal. You guys know how badly things can go in 7 seconds if nobody is healing. If everybody has to move for something, you're in a bad way if something happens in that 7-second time period, right? It can get very ugly very quickly. Real ugly. And the fact that everything is casted is your emergency buttons aren't quite there. They're just non-existent. If you look at it for a priest who has a few more instant cast spells, you've got things like Renew, Circle of Healing. They're unlikely to be game-saving situations in a very bad scenario. We're assuming in the first case that people are at a good amount of health before we had to move. What if people are already in danger? I've encountered this several times while running healers through this dungeon. I've played the Holy Priest, I played the Disc Priest, I played the Mistweaver, and I played the Holy Paladin. And in each of those scenarios, there were times when people were low and I had to move and I couldn't do anything. I literally couldn't do anything. I had a Light's Hammer and a Holy Shock, and Light's Hammer is a ticked spell. It's not instant, it's not saving, it's not a Wild Growth combined with a Light of Dawn, combined with all these instant cast AoEs and individual spells that we have access to in Mists of Pandaria. That's not really worked out. I think Blizzard really needs to rethink the idea of instant cast spells, because on top of the fact that it creates dangerous scenarios, it's also boring. Gotta say, turreted healing is something that we were used to in vanilla because we didn't know any better. Also, on top of that, in vanilla, we didn't really have to move that much. Yeah, I was a healer throughout vanilla. I was a priest from the start of vanilla right the way through to Kel'Thuzad. Let me tell you, we didn't have to do that much fucking moving. We would find a spot and we would stay there. Near enough every single fight was like that. If we had to move, people died. If we could heal on the move at things like Hygen the Unclean, more people would have survived. It just wasn't the case. We didn't have things like that. But the game doesn't work that way anymore, Blizz. The game is all about movement. I can't stand still for more than 5 fucking seconds anymore, bro. Come on, man. I need my instant cast stuff because it saves lives. It's more interesting. I don't want a 3-second gap between every single fucking spell. Not even DPSs have to deal with that. I don't want to do that, buddy. Come on. The instant cast stuff has been hit very, very hard. Very hard. Regarding the mana issue, if I was to give any feedback on that, I have to say, Blizz, was it a big deal? Was it? Was it a big deal, really, that healers had mana? Was it? Were we really seeing a lot of healers being cut out of fights? Disc priests were the problem, right? Absorbs were the problem, not healers having mana. It wasn't a big deal. I would like to see Blizzard just say, fuck it. If you have a lot of mana by the end of the expansion, fine. At the beginning of a new expansion, healers tend to run Oom. That's all right. And then they get more gear and they run out of mana less. Is that a big deal? Is it? I don't think so, man. I hope to get more information for you. I hope the alpha gets some sort of tweak. Because right now on the alpha, let me tell you how it is on the alpha right now and why anybody, if you've seen a video where it's like, well, this is a big problem with this class right now on the alpha. Let me tell you what the alpha is like right now. A holy priest cannot go below 95% mana, spamming flash heal, its most expensive heal, over and over again. You just can't. This works kind of well. This is okay. The same as the Mistweavers, but they haven't changed much since Mr. Pandaria. They already had manatee and ways of coping with it, so they're fine. Holy paladins have absolutely no spell power, it seems. There are spells out of the 4 that you cast as a holy paladin, and 2 of them don't do anything. Holy Radiance seems to heal in the hundreds, in a world where the tank has 70k HP, and Light of Dawn is not bad. Eternal Flame casted is not bad, but you're talking 10k crits if you're lucky. 10k crits on a big expensive heal that takes 3 seconds. Very easy to fall behind in a Holy Paladin right now, yeah? It's all a bit wacky. On my Mistweaver, if I go to, I can't remember the name, Stance the Fierce Tiger, whichever is the Eminence DPS one, I can't go below 99% mana. It's unbelievable. It's so broken right now that Blizzard clearly hasn't done any tuning with anything on the alpha, so please be aware of that. Looking at the alpha in terms of numbers and strengths and mana usage is really unhelpful right now, guys. All right, that's me done. I hope everything kind of makes sense there. That's my current feedback on it. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.